resources function is one of the most unique areas in the workplace that continually reinvents itself and evolves to meet the ever-changing needs of businesses. And the evolution of HR from a personnel department handling payroll and employee records to the department managing talent and corporate culture is one of the most significant transformations that we've witnessed in the business world. With HR hitting its stride in the past decade and being propelled into the global spotlight because of the pandemic, the function has gained all the more credibility and respect, leading to its strategic role in helping guide companies. With that, hello and welcome to our special feature, ZingHR presents Purpose-Driven HR for Business Outcomation, partnered by ET Now. An engaging and comprehensive series that seeks to understand how ZingHR's Outcomation can aid people leaders to take a purpose-driven approach that intersects with corporate strategy to help boost business outcomes. And with that, I'd like to welcome our panel of highly distinguished speakers to give their thoughts on today's discussion. ESG, whose baby is it?
The former Union Minister of Civil Aviation, Railways, Commerce and Industry, Suresh Prabhu, weighed in on the subject.
ESG has to be the new mantra for everybody to do business in the world. E stands for environment. We are facing existential crisis because climate change is threatening not just human lives, but the entire biological lives on the planet. And therefore, environment has to be the focal point of all the business decisions. Society is very important because if you disregard society and you start living in your own way, you are right to do that, then go and stay somewhere in the mountains. Don't worry about outside world and do that. But if you are actually wanting to live in modern society, then in that case, you must care for S. And the entire governance of the corporates should be aligned to the larger needs of the public governance that we have in the planet. Therefore, ESG should be the driving force for today's modern world.
Joining us in studio to take this discussion forward are Shailesh Haribhakti, board member of multiple corporations, and Pradeep Panigrahi, head of corporate sustainability at Lawson & Toubro.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us on this critical topic. And I'd love to kick off the conversation with you, Mr. Haribhakti. Now, any discussion around ESG or sustainability is becoming increasingly politicized, particularly in developed economies. So how does the Western world, in your view, hold any influence over the adaptation, adoption of ESG right here in India?
It will spur India's adoption because the conversation has moved from ESG to transition investing. And there is no place on the planet which can take in more transition investment than India. Sure. We need to go from about 100 gigs of renewable power to 500. So 5x we need to invest in renewables, plus all the battery infrastructure and the grid infrastructure. And so I believe that India can lead the way, and the world is making a beeline to invest in India. So this transition investment, which is the new definition of sustainability, will happen at scale and at speed in India.
Well, Mr. Haribhakti, you've given us great global context. And with that, Dr. Panigrahi, if I can ask you to give us the reality of the on-ground scenario here in India when it comes to ESG-related regulations, reforms, adoption, and next steps.
Absolutely. See the move taken by the SEBI, the Security and Exchange Board of India, I think it's one of the best move because we need to be competitive and we need to be better than many other countries in the world if you want to grow into a $5 trillion economy or whatever the government is trying to do. Now, BRS, the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Framework of SEBI, has many elements, many key elements of the international frameworks and also the domestic frameworks. Now, those frameworks are actually helping the companies to reset and to understand what we need to do actually to make our ESG strong so that you get investors, international investors come into India, invest on us. And honestly, except for few things that we need to change there, most of the parameters or most of the aspects that is there in BRSR is going to help the companies in India and also the country as a whole because then what will happen is that we are going to relook at ESG in a very different lens, and then we are going to tighten our screws inside the companies. We are going to, put the systems and practices in place which will help the companies as a whole to improve the systems, and therefore what will happen, the companies will grow and therefore the economies will grow. So I think that's a good step, and there are many more things will come. So yeah.
Well, Mr. Hari Bhakti, we just heard Dr. Panigrahi talk about tightening the screws, but the reality is that companies often struggle with distinguishing between what I might call legitimate sustainability efforts or authentic efforts versus greenwashing tactics, right? So I'd love your take on how to better navigate, right, that whole confusion. And separately, given that you sit on several boards, what measures should board members take in order to ensure that ESG reporting is more trustworthy, transparent, credible?
The first thing we try to do at a board is to convene a small committee,
right,
and appoint a champion. Once a champion is appointed, then things take off. That person brings the entire set of teams from across the organization together.
Sure.
That ensures that the greenwashing piece will be removed. Also, the board makes it very clear when giving the mandate to actually allocate resources,
right,
that we want genuine outcomes. And so one of the things we specify is we want to see documentation of what the situation was before and what is the situation after the intervention.
right.
So that has now become part of the DNA of implementation of sustainability. And then the reporting, we are saying, is not to be done by data entry. It is to be done by capturing of data sets and pictures and videos. And when you have a picture or a video, it can never lie.
Yeah.
And that is what we are now seeing taking root almost everywhere. So there is this fantastic company which transformed the whole town by doing rainwater harvesting and getting everybody in the community engaged. The thing that we have now recognized is if you don't have the community engaged, nothing stays sustainable.
Right. And, Mr. Hari Bhakti, I think you've put it plain and simple. The data doesn't lie. The evidence doesn't lie. And Dr. Panigrahi, you referenced, SEBI regulations just a moment ago when it comes to ESG disclosures. And I believe you've gone on record to say that such disclosures may be stringent, but are perhaps necessary. All easier said than done. So what challenges do you anticipate that Indian companies will face in an attempt to meet those expectations? And is there perhaps a bit of a hand-holding exercise that's required or knowledge sharing between the industry and regulatory bodies to make that journey a bit smoother?
Absolutely. I think I've also said earlier, hand-holding is required for many companies who have started their journey a little late. But those companies who are early movers, like for example, Larsen & Toubro Limited, we started our journey 15 years back. We started reporting sustainability in 2007 and 8. And if you look at our, over the last several years, you'll see steady increase in all aspects, including, data gathering, including the performance in the field and everything. So those companies which are early movers, they will not face challenge.
Right.
But those who are still resisting, those who are still saying that, no, we need to wait, probably they will face problem. So in a nutshell, while for the big companies also, a lot of things need to be further improved, systems and processes need to be in place. For example, digitalization, data gathering. We are using a platform for last 10 years, data gathering platform. We are now resetting that. We are trying to, again improve on that, and we are trying to further go deep down, granular, to collect the data, information that is required, and then we can report properly. And also, the board is driving very, very seriously. The board committee, we have a CSR committee which reviews ESG on quarterly basis. Our CMD, Mr. S. N. Subramaniam, is personally reviewing ESG performance on regular basis. So if when everything is in place, when the board is driving, when the CMD is driving, when the group CFO is driving, when you have champions in place, like Mr. Haribhakti said, the champions are required. So when champions are there in place in different businesses of the company, of course you need to build those champions as well. Then actually your systems will be in place. And of course, yes, for some companies, we need to handhold. Those who are not part of the top 1,000 listed companies probably, or those who are not listed, for them we definitely need handholding. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Haribhakti, if we were to look at three separate distinct bodies, be it public sector, private sector, and academia, how do they all need to individually contribute and then contribute as a unit towards prioritizing ESG? Because it's not going to happen in isolation.
Absolutely. The public sector units are aligning their CSR spends to government policy. Fortunately for India, the government policy is starkly in favor of providing universal basic services to the entire population at scale. And that is where the public sector units are diverting their sustainability and CSR spends. And so, by the way, the CSR committee is being now renamed almost everywhere as CSR and Sustainability Committee. This helps because then the message becomes clear that you need to make sure that you make a big difference to the whole program. So far as the corporates are concerned, they are following the Schedule 4 and their obligations under the CSR law to make sure that their spend is well planned, is fully spent by the end of March, so they don't need to put it away in a separate bank account, and God forbid never have to transfer it to the government's, the Prime Minister's Relief Fund if they fail to spend it. And if you take the third segment, which is universities, they have a fantastic role in advocacy, participation of the student community, making sure that it becomes a mission for them. And I have seen that the way a student actually with full force goes out and cleans a beach or pulls out plastic or does a plog run or does any of these things which are so visible, it is an absolute wonderful thing to watch the youngsters getting involved. But they need risk management systems and they need the true encouragement to get this participation going.
Dr. Panigrahi, if we talk about what happens within the four walls of an organization, everything is dictated by corporate culture. So I'd love your take on the extent to which corporate culture influences a company's commitment towards ESG.
Yeah, as you said, everything is dictated by the corporate culture, but I don't believe in that because, I've seen that it is not dictated, rather the strategy is made at a board, in a boardroom. The strategy is made at the CMD's level or in the strategy department, and then it is rolled out at different level. So when the strategy is made and it is rolled out, when you build champions, you train them. Like, in last couple of months or over last 6 months or so, we have trained so many people. We have trained for more than 1,000 man hours, on different aspects of ESG. So you go on training, go on capacity building, and then you make those champions, work on them, and then you start, you must empower them also. The moment you empower them, they start delivering results. So in any company, you need to, make these champions in every nook and corner. Maybe the person who is collecting the data, the last end of the bottom of the pyramid, or wherever this person is sitting, you need to, empower them, you need to train them, you need to empathize with them, you need to give the system, right system, process and resources, they will deliver. So that is what we are doing at L&T. We have, more than 50,000 permanent employees. We have more than 300,000 contract workers. We are bringing everybody together so that at the same time, everybody is galvanized to achieve the goal their company is setting. So it is your strategy that matters a lot, right? It is not you dictate. You don't dictate, and then because that doesn't work.
Well, fair enough. And if we are talking about strategies, Mr. Haribhakti, several companies have gone on to implement sustainability initiatives and as a result experience an uptick in profitability.
Absolutely.
They've only experienced a financial boost, right? So which of those strategies do you consider to have been particularly effective? And even once they are effective, how does one go about communicating that success ahead to relevant stakeholders, particularly investors?
Fantastic question, because it is important to have your heart and soul in the three things that define sustainability. One is energy transition.
Okay.
That is absolutely mandatory. So move from fossil fuel to renewables. Make sure that your resource use and your respect for resources goes up. So water, GHG gases, make sure that you don't emit them, make sure you capture them, make sure you sequester them.
Rainwater harvesting, for example, improved waste management, solar empowerment.
Waste management. All of that falls into this bucket. And the last is circularity.
Right.
So you make sure that as far as possible, you are part of a circular economy. So you're not pushing out waste into a landfill.
Right.
The landfills of the entire planet are full. They are crying out for conversion to energy. So for the first time, now the world has begun to invest in waste to wealth, waste to gas to hydrogen. And that is a spectacular movement that I'm seeing at very close quarters in many companies.
Well, Mr. Panigrahi, do you agree with that sentiment? And do you believe that India has become, a front runner of sorts in this waste to wealth journey? Or is there still some catching up yet to do?
Absolutely. I completely agree with Mr. Haribhakti. And in fact, in my own experience, I have seen that it's not waste to wealth only. It is, you build in so many other things. When you convert waste to wealth, by the process, you improve employee engagement.
Right.
By the process, you improve the bottom line. By the process, you are making sure that your waste doesn't go to the landfill. Today, at L&T, 24% of our raw materials comes from recycled or virgin sources.
Sure.
And we are trying to improve on that. So the materials which is supposed to be wasted goes to the closed loop, what Mr. Haribhakti said, the circularity. And when you do that, one is that your cost also comes down because you are actually not buying the virgin material, so your cost also comes down. So therefore, I think I completely agree with Mr. Haribhakti on that. And therefore, you are creating value, right? And that value improves everything. Apart from improving the bottom line and other things, also people feel empowered. People feel that they have done some good jobs. I think that is, it helps the company overall, right?
And Mr. Haribhakti, every day as professionals, we struggle to anticipate future economic realities, right? And we play that crystal ball gazing exercise. I'd love your take on how ESG initiatives or frameworks can be designed, keeping what we know about the future in mind.
We are running into a memory wall and a compute wall.
Right.
Because we've all got used to using AI.
Right.
Now, when you combine AI and decarbonization, it is at the cusp of this that India will start shining. So what do we need to do? We need to create mass awareness. So we've written a book which the Institute is giving free of charge to every member. 500,000 plus members will get this book on their email straight away, free.
Sure.
And we have said that it's free to air, so anybody who wants to download can download it. So that's one initiative. Then we want to bring out some very visible initiatives. So if we can clean rivers, for example, or lakes, then that becomes visible.
Right.
And the whole community and everybody starts making sure that that happens.
Because they feel the impact.
This is the way that we will, in India, I can sort of predict today that we will be at net zero in India much before 2070. We are way ahead of our promises. We understand the way AI and decarbonization will intersect, and therefore we are in the best position to make the difference.
Well, Dr. Panigrahi, if we were to assume that Mr. Haribhakti's vision is going to become a reality. What role do you anticipate technology will play in making that happen?
When you build AI into your systems and processes, then you get real-time data, and then you take decisions accordingly. We are using AI heavily on our safety management process, right? Training people, building their capacity,
Sure.
capability. So I think technology, if you look at some of our reports, technology is the key. Technology for sustainability, right? That is one of our mantra. Mm-hmm. So technology is certainly, definitely is going to play a very big role. And as Mr. Haribhakti said, that we are going to achieve the net zero target much well ahead of time, and technology will play a significant role there. I'll give you a couple of things, a couple of examples. Like, if you look at the things you are doing in Mumbai Transharbour line, or in the new coastal road, wherever we are building the roads or building everywhere using technologies to use less resources, improve resource efficiency, improve energy efficiency, improve water efficiency. So everywhere you're using different type of technologies to do that. Probably some of that will come in our upcoming integrated annual report that will be released sometime. That will be released in AGM. So yes, technology is there, and technology is going to play a vital role here.
Right. And the side effects of this seem to be not only an uptick in economic prosperity, but also in social welfare. And that's very critical to keep in mind. And I've got a follow-up question for you there, Dr. Panigrahi. So when we look at corporate structures today, oftentimes there is not a designated CXO level individual that is tasked with managing sustainability efforts for the company, right? So in scenarios like this, and I pose my question to the both of you, can a CHRO, a Chief Human Resources Officer, fill those shoes, given their influence on the culture of the company and people management practices? Your take, sir.
We have already done that. In LTI Mindtree, our current CSO is ex-CHRO, right?
Phenomenal.
So Mr. Panis Rao, he was heading HR, and now he's heading sustainability. It's absolutely possible. Only issue is that the CHR also needs good technical hands.
Sure.
Some good backups. Some people must be having some good somebody with good knowledge on environmental management systems, somebody with good knowledge on decarbonization, somebody with good knowledge on social dimensions, or or other dimensions on governance. So if the CHRO is equipped with this kind of manpower, and if CHRO has some background in understanding these aspects, why not? I mean, that is quite possible. But again, things are changing. So I think I've seen this in many other companies also. The CHROs are taking the lead in or embracing this ESG or sustainability in a big way. And only thing, as I said, that backup is required.
And Mr. Haribhakti, do you share the same sentiment? Because there's a lot of debate that surrounds this topic.
Completely.
All right. Well, what are the ingredients of that toolkit for that CHRO to succeed?
I'll tell you. See, the world will have 1 billion humanoid computers in no more than 3 years. 1 billion. So the workforce of the world will have to combine with the humanoid robots.
Sure.
Who's going to manage this?
Right.
CHROs, automation, technology applied to the HR function. That is what's going to manage this revolution that is happening. Who are they going to be serving? They will be serving the community.
Right.
Because if they don't serve the community, they will not get the fresh flow of high-level talent.
Fair enough.
And so they will double hat as CHROs and CSOs. And that's the future that will make us all see everything from the lens of sustainability.
Just to add to again, Mr. Haribhakti, this things are blurring now. The separation between different CXOs are blurring, and probably there will be a time with the use of technology, AI, and other things. One person, whatever the role may be, will be able to handle multiple different roles. Because at the end of the day, the strategy for the company matters. What you are going to achieve, what you are going to target, what is your game plan. If the person has good understanding, and if the person has the understanding of making the improvements year on year, meeting the targets, anybody can fit in there. So absolutely there is no problem, right? Yep.
Well, it's all very heartening to hear. And Dr. Panigrahi and Mr. Hari Bhakti, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you and your teams all the continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
With that, our special feature, ZingHR presents Purpose-Driven HR for Business Outcomation, partnered by ET Now, comes to a close. Thanks for watching.